You know that feeling when you see a massive project, just full of incredibly smart, talented people, and you still wonder, why is this thing fallen behind or going way over budget? It's a super common problem, right? Well, today, we're going to dive into exactly why that happens, and we'll look at the one key strategy that can turn all that chaos into real coordination. And this quote right here, this really gets to the heart of it all. The real problem isn't a lack of skill or talent. Nope. It's a breakdown in communication. It's a lack of a single unified direction. So what's crucial to understand is that even the best experts in the world can accidentally pull a project apart if they aren't all pulling in the exact same direction. Okay, so let's really dig into the core of this issue, what we're calling the high-stakes misalignment. And trust me, when you're talking about projects on this scale, the stakes really couldn't be any higher. Just picture it for a second. A brand new skyscraper, a huge bridge, maybe a massive tech campus. I mean, these things are incredibly complex. They bring together dozens of super specialized teams. And yeah, each team is an absolute master of what they do, but that very expertise can create these invisible walls, these silos between them. And just look at the cast of characters we're dealing with. You've got architects focused on the big vision, structural engineers who are all about safety, the procurement team trying to manage costs, and the site team dealing with the messy day-to-day reality. That is a lot of different priorities and points of view, all trying to work together. So naturally, you're going to see some friction. The architect, for instance, wants this beautiful, sweeping glass facade, but the structural design team looks at it and says, whoa, that's not practical, and it's definitely not safe within this budget. Now, here's the thing. They're both right from their own perspective, but they are in direct conflict. And it's the exact same story when you look at planning versus execution. The planning department, they create this perfect, color-coded schedule where everything flows beautifully. But the team on the ground, well, they're dealing with a sudden rainstorm, a delayed delivery of materials, maybe some weird soil conditions nobody expected. The ideal plan just slammed into messy reality. And oh yeah, here's one more classic example. The budget. The estimation team puts together a cost plan based on assumptions they made months ago. But the procurement team, they're out there facing today's crazy market where, oops, the price of steel just jumped 15%. So again, conflict is pretty much baked into the system. So with all these brilliant teams naturally pulling in completely different directions, how in the world do you keep the whole project from just tearing itself apart? Well, that's where the solution comes in. Let's talk about the PMO as an integrator. Now, what's really important here is what a PMO is not. It is not some kind of police force, and it's not about adding more bureaucracy. A better way to think of it is like the project's central nervous system, or its engine. It's the one part of the machine that's dedicated to making sure all the other separate parts work together as one. And this is the absolute key difference. The architect, they protect the design. The site team protects the daily execution. The finance team protects the budget. Each one has a narrow but vital focus. But the PMO, they're the only group whose entire job is to protect the health and success of the whole project. So how do they actually do it? Well, it's not magic. A really well-run PMO uses a specific set of tools and processes to create that alignment we've been talking about. Let's break down the 6 most important ones. This right here is the PMO's core toolkit. It's really built on 6 key things. Creating a single source of truth so everybody is on the same page. Making sure decisions are driven by data, not just opinions. Running structured meetings that actually solve problems. Using something called a RACI matrix to make roles crystal clear. Having an escalation path for the really tough decisions. And finally, setting up strong governance to manage change. So let's break down what each of these really means. First up, the single source of truth. This is huge. The PMO makes sure everyone is working from the exact same playbook. So no more arguments because the site team is using last week's drawings while the procurement team is ordering from an old materials list. Everything. The drawings, the budget, the schedule is centralized and approved. Next up, data-driven discussions. Instead of conversations that are all based on I feel or I think, the PMO brings cold, hard data to the table. When you see a chart like this, the conversation completely changes. It's no longer about whose fault it is that concrete is 15% over budget. It's about why it happened and, more importantly, how we're going to fix it. The third tool is structured coordination. Now, PMO meetings are different. We've all been in those meetings that could have been an email, right? Well, these aren't for just going around the room saying everything's fine. No, these are laser-focused sessions designed to find specific problems, like a clash between the electrical and plumbing plans, and solve them right then and there, before they become a crisis. Tool number 4 is the RACI matrix, and this is just a brilliant way to eliminate confusion. RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. Just by looking at this chart, there is zero question about who does what. For a material order, you can see the site team is responsible for doing the work, but the PMO is ultimately accountable for making sure it gets done right. See? No more confusion. So what happens when two teams just can't agree? That's where the 5th tool comes in, a structured escalation system. Instead of letting a dispute just sit there and fester for weeks, there's a clear, documented path to get a decision from higher management and get it fast. It keeps the whole project moving forward. And finally, tool number 6, change governance. Look, on any big project, changes are going to happen. It's inevitable. But one little uncontrolled change can cause a massive ripple effect of chaos. The PMO acts as a gatekeeper. They analyze every proposed change, its impact on cost, on time, on everything before it ever gets approved. So, what does this all actually look like in the real world? Let's contrast two projects side by side to see the really dramatic difference a PMO can make. On the left, that's the project without that central integrator. The silos get deeper, a blame culture starts to grow, and progress just grinds to a halt. But on the right, with a PMO driving alignment, you get coordination, you get clear accountability, and you get a project that actually moves forward predictably. I mean, the contrast is just night and day. Which brings us to the final and most crucial takeaway. Everything we've talked about, all the tools, all the processes, they all serve one ultimate purpose. And there it is. That's the whole ball game. A PMO doesn't replace the incredible expertise of the architects, the engineers, or the builders. It simply harnesses all that amazing talent and focuses it, like a laser, on the one thing that truly matters, successfully delivering the project. It turns conflict into coordination. And that, right there, is the difference between failure and success.